Discipline. Everyone's favorite word. I know you've heard it all. Discipline over motivation. Discipline is doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it. Discipline, discipline, discipline. We all know what it is, and we all know we need it. But yet we lack it more than ever, especially when becoming disciplined is actually easy. The reason why we all struggle with discipline is because we think that discipline is this magical skill that we'll eventually acquire and keep forever. And if for some reason we have a day or two where we slack off, that means it's gone or we never had it to begin with. Others think that discipline comes to us once we have this crazy canon event where we have no choice but to be disciplined, so until then we just coast through life waiting for that moment. Hate to break it to you, but if this is your way of thinking, then becoming disciplined will actually be hard for you. As we all know, discipline is basically the ability to control yourself. So from that standpoint, we're all pretty disciplined. When we go to school or our jobs when we don't feel like going, that's discipline. When we run errands when we don't feel like it, that's discipline. So then the question is, if we're all somewhat disciplined, why does it feel like we're not? And why is it so hard to get ahead in life? Well, the truth is, there's steps to take to increase your level of discipline. A great way to become more disciplined is to use motivation. Contrary to popular belief, motivation isn't a bad thing, and as a matter of fact, I'd argue it's just as important as discipline. The reason being, discipline is what keeps you going, but motivation is what gets you started. No matter what you chose to do in life, the only way you'll be able to be consistent and give it your best is if you have a why. The why is more important than the how. So rather than asking yourself how you could be more disciplined, you should be asking yourself why you should be more disciplined. Because when you have a why, the how will always work itself out. Once you have a why, you might feel tempted to add stuff to your plate so you can start your journey of becoming disciplined. But slow down, cowboy. The truth is, doing that will only make things worse. Let me explain. If your daily life consists of hours of gaming, binging shows, scrolling on your phone, and etc., adding habits such as reading and exercising won't work. Why, you ask? Well, it's quite simple. If you continue your old habits that aren't serving you, yet keep you stimulated, it'll be much harder to add better habits to your daily life, because your brain will find them harder. For example, let's say I wanted to get better at basketball to make my school team, so I vow to practice every day. I can achieve this goal as long as I stay consistent. But let's say I also wanted to get better at NBA 2K, so I decided to grind out my career. Which do you think my brain's gonna want to do more? The goal that requires blood, sweat, and tears, or the goal that requires me to sit in my air-conditioned room with a bag of Doritos and a controller? That's why you would find it useful to reduce or eliminate some activities that really aren't serving you or your goals so you can feel more inclined to do harder ones. This is basically the goal of a dopamine detox. By getting rid of cheap dopamine, you'll have more will to do the harder ones. But at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Discipline's a lot more than just going to the gym when you don't feel like it. You could be the hardest worker when it comes to your sport or business and still lack discipline. You see, the way we do one thing is how we do everything. Details matter. If you don't commit to being disciplined in all areas of your life, you'll never be able to even the odds with someone you deem better than you. Life's a lot more of a mental game than a physical game. You may be able to produce good work while multitasking, but you could also produce great work by focusing on one thing. Sure, you may perform well on 5 hours of sleep, but you could perform better on 8 hours of sleep. Sure, you may appear healthy on a bad diet, but you could actually be healthy on a good diet. The point is, coasting through life and doing the minimum required of you may be working for now, but there will come a time when it doesn't. And what will you do then? Blame your genetics or upbringing? At that point, you'll have nobody to blame but yourself. That's why discipline's necessary. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's worth it. If you don't believe me, take David Goggins, for example. The man grew up in a terrible environment, and most people in his situation would have given up. But at 24 years old, he committed to mastering himself, and many years later, he's now a retired Navy SEAL, a best-selling author, and an incredible athlete. He didn't get to this point thanks to luck or genetics, but because he became what he refers to as a disciple of discipline. The lesson in this story is, no matter what your situation is, just know that with discipline, there's hope.